Hello and welcome everyone to the Trending in My Life podcast, episode 16. This week I'm talking about Thanksgiving and other celebrations. In many countries this time of year is party season. October has Halloween, November has Thanksgiving. In Canada they actually celebrate Thanksgiving in October, so they have two celebrations in 1 month. And then of course December, Christmas is just around the corner as well. In our family, we throw in a few birthdays into that mix too, so it's a busy 3 months. On the big celebration days, it's hard not to feel the pressure of providing the perfect meal and the perfect gift. But in reality, your best is good enough. And if everything was truly 100% perfect, what do you do next year? I wouldn't want to be perfect, too much pressure, and besides, flawed human beings are interesting with adorable quirks. I couldn't bear to spend hours getting myself ready to make sure every aspect of my appearance was perfect before I stepped outside the door. I'd want to be outside, seeing things, doing things. And I'm also sure if I was obsessing about the wind blowing a hair out of place, I wouldn't be out enjoying life as much as I do. I have Canadian friends who are gearing up for their Thanksgiving at the time I'm recording this. And when I put out this podcast, it will be the day that they're celebrating. There are, of course, many other celebrations at this time of the year in other countries and in different cultures and religions. I mean no disrespect to those, but I'm just mentioning the ones I have personal experience of. Also, I think any meals involving a lot of family can probably share similarities with the things I'll mention today. Perhaps you're lucky and really only need to accept an invite and turn up on the day, so you're not a part of the preparations. But even then, you may not feel relaxed about it. What should really be a relaxed family gathering or one with friends turns into an interrogation in your head. You're just waiting for that moment when someone mentions, when are you going to settle down and get married? Or when are you going to start a family with a baby? There's always the tactless relative who mentions you weigh more than last time they saw you, or the opposite, and tells you you're looking way too thin these days. For guys, it might be that they think you need a haircut. Are you trying to grow a moustache? It doesn't suit you. Or haven't you got that promotion at work yet? So why is that? For girls, it's perhaps you're always in pants or trousers and you should wear a dress more often. Who are you dating? Has he got good prospects? Why didn't you make pudding? When are you going to do that? It's like running down a tunnel with unexpected spears shooting out of the walls. The floor giving way, explosions going off ahead. Expect the worst because you're trapped, sitting on a chair and can't avoid answering. With everyone, these types of remarks make you feel smaller and smaller. Your self-confidence throws in the towel, quits and leaves. Whenever you're hoping the focus will switch to someone else, someone will ask you another question. Your only possible solution is to deflect and try not to join in the diss fest. Instead, ask someone you know that has good news to share, or compliment someone around the table on their appearance. You like their glasses, are they new? Or compliment the food. The potatoes seem particularly delicious this year. Was something extra added? If the answers back are no, follow with, well, you must be lucky then because they taste extra special this year. The other tack to use is to bring up a memory that others can add their point of view on, like, do you remember the time it snowed and we all made snow creatures in the yard and fell about laughing? I hope we can do that again one day. Do you recall the time we watched the football game where the scores were tied and we didn't know who would win in those last few minutes? Of course, you have someone around the table who's expecting a baby or engaged. Then just ask them how the planning is going and the conversation should be sorted. You can just nod and grunt agreement while appearing fascinated. You can say, one day I'll be in your shoes, so it's good to know all this stuff. There might be a lot of rivalry around the table. That happens sometimes. Who has the best career in their opinion? Who has the most expensive car? The most talented child in their opinion? Opinions can get heated with people trying to one-up one another, in the same track as schoolyard, well, mine's better than yours. People around the table start to take sides, and before you know it, you have an out-and-out split inside the family. The kind of thing that next year people start asking themselves why they hate third cousin's family, and then remembering it was all over whose green jumper was borrowed and never returned, and it all seems so dumb a year on. That's the trouble. Crazy grudges get held on to for months, even years, when family can barely remember how it all started. The best games at family celebrations are the silliest ones. The adaptation on a theme, like a pass the apple from chin to chin, became pass the balloon from body to body. If you've nothing planned, try and make and fly paper aeroplanes. See who can get the furthest. Simple planes out of an A4 sheet of paper, even out of a page in a magazine. Line up and fly them from one side of the room to another, or even write initials on a wing and send them outside, flying into the dark to be collected by flashlight, or in the morning if guests are staying over. Competitiveness may still prevail, but everyone has the fun of creating one, and no one has an advantage. Kids will love joining in. You can even have the oldest person in the room decide the winner, like it's the plane that's second to last or third furthest, so no one can guess how theirs will fly. If it's raining, all put a cup outside of similar size and see whose fills up to the top the first. Take it in turns to be on rain watch, to rate the cups. If it's raining so much you have a huge puddle in your yard, make paper boats. Play rock, paper, scissors, or pick the short straw to see who will dash out with a brolly and place all the homemade paper boats in the puddle. Then you have to watch from the window as they float or sink and make up stories about the crew of your boat. The preparation for Thanksgiving is at least missing the element of gift giving that can cause a headache at Christmas. In my opinion, that's a good thing. I like the sentiment of Thanksgiving, the thinking about how grateful you are for your life and the things in it. There's that saying that it's not about what's on the table, but about the love sat around it. If you have an extended family celebration, the venue often passes from person to person, or back and forth between 2 or 3 people who have the room to accommodate all the guests, or simply love to cook. This gives them a chance to showcase long-standing traditional recipes and even try out new ones too. It may be that everyone brings a dish or a plate of something that they might cook for themselves or buy at a store to be their contribution to all the mouths to feed. If you're pulling into a gas station and grabbing a pack of ho-hos, those are mini Swiss rolls in the UK, you may not be feeling the pressure. Someone who's home baking a pumpkin pie to take along may feel the pressure. Family who work long hours and simply don't have time will order something from a store to take. Their criteria is expensive, so that people will be impressed by the money they spent. Effort, though, is often king at such occasions, so aunties with arthritic fingers who still insist on bringing the same dish they've always made are heaped with praise no matter what it tastes like because of the effort. If you have no money in your budget and no cooking skills, make something to take along with you. Stick together some leaves and seeds collected from a walk, add a loop of string or wool, and it's a hanging decoration. Anyone who's critical makes themselves look bad to the rest of the family, and no matter how yours is compared, it's unique, handmade, so one of a kind, something that really can't be compared to anything. The people who are hosting have the most pressure, and are often cooking for days leading up to it. They have the unenviable job of catering for everyone's likes and dislikes and allergies and unreasonable preferences, like old Uncle Baxter, who can only eat turkey off his special orange plate because he says it blends into a white china plate. Mima, Nana, Grandma, who wants to be near the head of the table but close to the toilet because she has a weak bladder. So you have to move the table to accommodate her. The family that bring unexpected friends as well, and suddenly you're calculating in your head if there's enough food and begging neighbours to let you borrow a chair, or you'll find yourself sat on an exercise ball because you gave up your chair, but insisting it's the latest trend and helps your digestion, so you're absolutely fine. There's always the pressure, if hosting rotates, to ensure whatever you cook is as good as last year's offering from someone else. I think the whole bring a dish of food with you helps ease this because you know that there is extra amounts coming. Although, bear in mind, any vital part of the menu meal, depending on someone who's got to arrive, occasionally people catch a cold or flu at this time of year and their contribution may not materialise. It's a credit to all those families who've experienced that and other disasters like stoves not working or mistakenly not switched on, burnt food because everyone was outside with a football and forgot, or snowed in and no one can reach you. To all of those people who have a let's make do celebration, where they open cans or tins of meat and veg they have instead and throw together a perfectly delicious meal from almost nothing, they encompass that thankful spirit because all that matters is the people who sit to eat it together. There will often be a relative who can't make it this year. Planes aren't flying because of bad weather. Car broke down. Bus and train tickets were sold out. It isn't a time to guilt trip them, but a time to tell them you'll really miss them, their stories and their smile, and you hope to see them another day soon. A Thanksgiving treasure box is a fun thing to make one year and open the next. Everyone gets a small piece of paper to write down what makes them smile about Thanksgiving. They can read it aloud and put it in a small box to be opened next Thanksgiving. They don't put their name on it, so next year the people around the table might not be the same or might not remember who said what. It doesn't have to be big things. You can just write down being sat at the table, being invited, the pumpkin pie, watching sports with family, my wife's smile, my uncle's jokes. It could be anything. Don't make it complicated. Just the first thing that pops into your head. Write it, fold it, put it in the box. It's a great thing to open the next year, and one person can read them all out, or just a lucky dip. Passing the box around the table, people pull one out randomly and read it. You could even use a notice board or an archway by a door in the house to pin them on, so people can read them as they pass through. Having often 3 generations around a table gives a great opportunity to hear stories from older members about their childhood, their first job, how they met their partner. Next generations can tell first date stories, most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to them. Kids can talk about their favourite teacher, best loved toy and favourite game. Everyone hearing these stories will absorb and remember being at that table on that day, sharing with each other. And often they will see the person telling the story in a different light just because of what they're saying. Everyone telling their happiest memory can be very thoughtful, although they might need a 3-minute timer if someone is known for rambling. After the meal there's the washing up, and please don't let everyone who did the cooking end up doing all the dishes too. No, instead play Washingup Tag. Each person gets to wash up 3 items, then tag someone else to do 3. The rule is it doesn't matter what everyone is doing, playing a game, watching sports. Everyone that's tagged has to do their 3 dishes immediately. Quicker you get your turn out of the way and tag someone else, the better. You ate the food, you do the dishes, and anyone refusing has to be shamed by the rest till they do it, or maybe asked to leave. Harsh, I know, but no one should think they are above the rest of the family and don't need to clean dirty dishes or help each other. If someone volunteers to do all of it, don't let them. You may hate doing dishes, but it's not fair to lump the task on someone, and it sets a really good example for the kids attending too, if you all take turns and help one another. After all that good food, there might be a few people napping in armchairs, and an evening stroll around the neighbourhood might not go amiss to help with the digestion. It all depends on the weather and the place you're in, whether it's safe to do so. Just a 10 to 15-minute walk for some fresh air and conversation, led by what you see. The moon's bright tonight. The stars are so shiny in that clear sky. That tree has interesting branches, and I want one of those flowers, whatever they are. So hardy to be flowering at this time of year. You could go this walk with a partner and talk about reasons you love them. Back at the house, there's an argument over what movie to watch, so the deciding vote is Grampy. He says, put on anything in black and white, but then you have to take turns to act out the parts on the screen. No words, just expressions and actions to mimic what's happening behind you. You'll groan at first, but soon you'll get into it. Grampy might not last another year, so no one will say no, and in the grand scheme of things, why not join in? Before you know it, you'll be laughing, and people will be bad acting the parts, overemphasizing the actions, and being so over the top, your sides will be aching from laughing. Don't take yourself seriously, just let loose and be totally in it. There's no prize for the best or the worst, just don't be left out. At least when someone asks you how you spent the day, you'll have lots to tell them. If you live in a warmer climate, a good game for the kids is a bucket of water and paintbrushes. Tell them it's invisible paint to paint the wall, fence or garage with, and pretend to sprinkle something on the water and stir it. When they're done, tell them they did an awesome job and they can do your invisible painting another time. You may have one of those kids who tips the bucket of water all over themselves and runs around saying they're invisible. Plenty more water in the tap for the sensible kids, and the invisible kid can be encouraged to go inside to choose a dry t-shirt from his uncle or aunt's closet to wear, because you really miss not seeing him or her and their smile, since they are invisible right now. Kids often have boundless energy on celebration days, so ways to keep them active and using their imagination helps to use that up. If the weather keeps them inside, insist you need 100 pictures of animals to decorate the inside of your garage. That should keep them occupied. There's always video games and movies, but sometimes it's an opportunity to learn to crochet with Nonna, or learn checkers with Gramps. A cross divide with generations and quiet kids coming out of their shell. Sometimes the pressure to have a partner at these occasions can mean strangers become a date for the day, invited last minute or near to it because they're at a loose end or couldn't get home to their own family. In those situations, just let them be themselves as much as possible, just because it'll give you an opportunity to see who they are, and you might even like them enough that they can come next year, but for real. Too much practicing and backstory on a fake relationship can end up tripping you up anyway. Just be nice and focus on other people to divert questioning. Equally, turning up alone isn't terrible. Divert those pitying looks with, well, hopefully I'll be as lucky as you next year and have found someone to bring. Being happy to just be you is actually a wonderful thing. It's funny how we think we have to find the one. Maybe it's up to them to find us, and we just have to be, and it will happen. Who knows? I hope you get to relax into the celebration at some point, the whole being together for an occasion. That you get to the point where all the initial remarks have been said, the food all eaten and the dishes done. Everyone around you looks content and you can feel you've done a good job for this year. If you were just turning up, then congratulate yourself for being there. No excuses, you came and you made it through the good and the bad moments, and you'll be back next year. If you're young, imagine one day you'll be hosting all this in your own house, and how you do it. If you're older, consider how your children will celebrate this occasion in the future, and the part that you will play in it. While some people will wish they didn't have to go, others without family or with distance stopping them will wish they could. It's only a day in your life, better to be there if you can, because you never know what you might miss. You'll be missed if you're not there. Some relatives will use the get-together to announce things, like spending a year working abroad, or leaving their job and starting their own business, retiring and going on a cruise. They want everyone to know at the same time, so they don't have to repeat it lots of times over the phone or over coffee somewhere. It may feel a bit like they're hijacking the celebration, but for them at least, they are guaranteed both positive and negative reactions in the one place, and those who support the decision will argue in their favour with those that don't. The reasoning was sound, to not have one-to-one reactions that might rain too heavily on their parade. There will still be enough of the day to focus on how wonderfully delicious the food was and how much fun the games were. You don't have to feel they stole the show. I hope if you attend a celebration, like Thanksgiving, that you remember to send a thank you card, flowers, gift, or even a message to thank your hosts for a wonderful time. Little things like that are both polite but also the right thing to do for people who open their home and their hearts to you. I'm about to wrap this up, but looking out of the window on a breezy fall day, I'm thinking how predicting how many leaves will blow off this big tree in the yard on the next gust of wind would make a fun game, for the competitive adults perhaps around you. Give them cut-up straws to bet with. You can send the kids out to collect the leaves off the grass and see who can pick up the most. I'm also actually thinking I need to do the last mow of the grass for the year before it stops growing for the winter time, and I have to pick up all those leaves before I do. I have next week off work for my birthday, so I have time to wait for a sunny day to do that. So I'd like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, to all of you that celebrate it. Try and find moments to smile, of fun and laughter and sharing and being with loved ones. It's only once a year. Make it a good one. Please like, comment, subscribe, tell me your Thanksgiving stories, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.